So you have, and I think that's where I want this to, is where I want this to go, is, or just accepting that, okay, as I'm talking, and also allowing this sort of disjointedness of a first video as well. Like this is sort of getting caught as a disjointedness flows and then it gets disjointed. And I think, as you're going through this talk, or as I'm going through this talk, is you working through this within yourself as well, right? I think sometimes we have this perception that things have to be so clean cut, or my perception is things have to be so clean cut, and that for anything, for you to be proficient at anything, and that can even be talking in a camera, talking about yourself, which is something that if you don't do it too often, then it is going to feel disjointed. It is going to feel, okay, do I want to say this? Do I feel this? Because maybe you're not so certain of expressing yourself. Maybe as you talk about these things, you have things in your head, oh, how's that going to look? How are people going to perceive it? Should I say this? Should I not say this? And yeah, I think it's just not being afraid of that aspect of things as well, and maybe not to fight it. As life is a big part of life of just trying to move through things, and I think, which is a natural part, challenges, all of those things are so natural to life, and just not having resistance to them, allowing yourself to look not so polished, to allow yourself to be disjointed at times, because that's another thing that can happen, is that in life, if you've got what people term the shadow, and there's traits that get pulled into the shadow, which we almost repress, or we say, okay, I don't want this to be seen in public life, around people. And a lot of these things we learn as we're younger. Okay, if I don't say the right thing, then I don't get something, or I don't get the attention I want from my parents, or in my peer group. I get talked down on, or whatever that is, and that can be many things. So when you pull that into the bag, that goes into the bag, and then so you put these things, okay, it's not accepted in society or in the family dynamic, and that those things get pushed away, and then you almost just have this is where the persona can get strong, or the ego can get strong, of where, okay, I'm only accepted for these things and not these other things. So this is a roundabout way of saying, okay, let it all come. I think, I've read a few books on the shadow, and I think it's Robert Bly maybe, and he talks about, in our sort of teens and our 20s, we put all these things, he calls it the bag, so in like a black bag, so all these things that aren't accepted, we put them in the bag. So those things I'm just talking about, and then we spend, from then on, especially for me, sort of 28 was a turning point. Brother's going through something similar now, of almost refining back, and then so he then talks about, okay, then we take those things back out the bag, then we try and get all those things back out the bag, and that's like the shadow. And that's one thing I've been really going through, I would say recently, is that definitely is integrating, the path of individuation, which is an integration of both sides. It's the ego, which could be the persona, the person that we adapted to be to survive in our environment. None of it's right or wrong. It's just, I believe, what we've come here with a set of challenges, set of things to go through and then move through. So go through and then move through. And and then you got the shadow, which is the repressed aspects of a self that we put, off to the side, which people don't see, which we carry, and sometimes we don't want to see them. We don't want to see, okay, that's not accepted here. See you later. My conscious awareness doesn't want to see it either, right? And then the path of individuation is you start to integrate them rather than being strong in one or the other, and that's where you can pull as well. You can pull between two. So you can be very strong in one, and then it's almost like, you know, my experience is you don't just come back into the middle. The balance to be struck is then you pull into the other, and then you can work a way to bring them together. So yeah, I think that's maybe all I want to say really for my first video. This is really just, yeah, to express, to just talk about my journey, and yeah, talk about what I've been through, what I'm going through, what I'm moving through, all of those things, and just seeing, okay, firstly, let's do that for myself, because it's important for me to express myself. And then I think secondly, for others as well, and for those that resonate with it, they will receive it, and those that don't, they won't. And also the last thing I say is, within that you'll always have both. So I think sometimes we have this thought of, and this is what I think I say, you do it for yourself first, because sometimes we have that, okay, I'm only gonna say something, I'm gonna do something because I want it to be received positively. But if you can come from a deeper place of, okay, look, let's do it for a higher purpose. First of all, I'm going to do it just for myself, regardless of what happens. And then secondly, you do it because you feel like it's a higher purpose in yourself for this sort of thing to be expressed. So yes, within that, I just wanted to say that when you do these things, it's not to worry about, and this is something I worried a lot about in the past, and I will still have, you know, fragments of that now, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm certain. But it's not to worry that you just want it to be positively received, because those who will resonate with it, and they will receive it. But you'll also have the dissonance in there as well, where the people that can't receive it will come in, and you may get some comments, and it will be negatively received also. So it's positively received, and it will be negatively received. There'll be resonance and there'll be dissonance within that, because it's the duality of where we live, the place we live in. You know, in spiritual circles you have where they talk about almost, what is it, transcendence? Is it transcendence they talk about, where you transcend this realm? But I think whilst we're in it, I think in the physical we really have to work our way within it almost. And so within that we live in duality. So there is always the duality we find, non-duality, but we live in duality. Maybe our essence is non-duality, so maybe we try and find that balance whilst we're here, that non-dual, but within that we still are in the dual system. So you will have the positive, you will have the negative. It's a bit like you will have the hot and you will have the cold, you will have the seasons. And I think that's something that's taken me a long time to learn, and also to have non-resistance to that. And I still have resistance to that, but it's just letting that flow, knowing that, okay, both have to come. There have to be challenges in order for you to move past the challenge, in order for you to grow. In order for you to have maximum growth, you must go through maximum challenges, you must go through maximum difficulties. And that's sort of what we have in this system. So yeah, that's just the first video that I would, just wanted to share. Cool.